Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Kaguya-Sama, Love is War. Last time around, Kaguya wants her to say it. This is where Kaguya met Shirogane's little sister and devised an entire plan to get close to her and become her honorary big sister so that she would get close to the Shirogane family. And then it all fell apart in the same way that it normally does because Chika basically beat her to it. Then Miyuki Shirogane can't lose. Final exams were coming up, and there were a bit of difficulties with our student council trying to do it. But eventually, Shirogane did manage to eke out the top spot once again, much to his own joy and the frustration of Kaguya. But also, Yu Ishigami closes his eyes. This is where Ishigami had basically resigned himself to death and failure. And Kaguya was like, no. And so took him aside, tortured him, forced him to study, and he managed to pass his final exams. Barely, but he passed. So, yeah. That was pretty much where we left off. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and the pinned comment. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Kaguya-Sama, Love is War. Here we go. Well, that's the good news, is she does know that he didn't do anything terrible. But they did think for a sec, though. She obviously suspected, and Hayasaka figured, but no. No. Man, every time we see Hayasaka, I'm like, man, I want more of her. Like, she's so funny and so deadpan, and yet, like, she's very, like, deadpan and proper, and also it's just, like, there's something underneath. There's something underneath the surface that's, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but there's something underneath the surface where, oof, she's looking for something, I feel like. I don't know. I don't know, maybe she's just looking for thrills, and messing with them, especially Kaguya, is just very thrilling. So, alrighty. So, that was, I mean, it's an interesting thing of, like, this episode was, like, all basically, like, I don't know how to say it. I guess, like, they all were interwoven together. Like, this was clearly 3 parts of this story. Granted, we still apparently have part 2 of this tale. But yeah, so that was interesting. I feel like there was another episode where, like, I guess it was the French exchange event, where, like, that was the other one where, like, that entire episode was basically feeding towards the whole event with the French. So yeah, so that was interesting. So we started off with the typhoon, which I like how Kaguya was able to just completely, get Fujiwara out of there, like, that was the quickest she's ever been able to do that, specifically because, normally she comes in and is like, oh, how about this thing? And then Kaguya, zoom in on Kaguya's face as she panics, but this time just grab her. Oh, look, it must have been like lightning. I'll cover your ears and your eyes and take you out to your taxi. So I like that she's getting a little bit more confident of how to, I guess, defeat the chaos. So yeah. And then, but it's interesting because it's like, it's like, oh, just offer to take Shirogane home, basically. And it's like, or the problem is that becomes a car date, because of course it does. Ugh. I do love, though, at the end, when she's, like, detailing, it's like, oh, it's only a matter of time before he comes and begs me for use of his car, or use of my car. I just love Hayasaka just being there. Is like, yes, that is quite a cute plan you've come up with, Lady Kaguya. She's so deadpan. It's hilarious, you know. Uh, you, you know what? Maybe it's Hayasaka kind of feels like Annie from Attack on Titan if she didn't have any of her angst, you know. Like Annie of just sort of that quiet, just sort of deadpan, like, yes, that is an interesting plan, isn't it? You know, but without the angst, without some of the anger that she has, you know. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because they're both blonde. Maybe that's why I'm thinking that. But I don't know. But yeah, so that was good, and I like how it's like, so if you take him, where am I supposed to go? It's like, well, you'll walk home, clearly. And because of that, it was karma, and she was completely drenched by the bicycles that was going past. I was about to say that she was drenched by the person riding the bicycle, but that sounds wrong. So anyway. But I do like how she said, it's like, I was kidding. I had called you a taxi. I mean, it's just an interesting thing still with Hayasaka that it's like, you know, like between that and the fact that she had to have a disguise too. It's an interesting thing that she is attending the same school as Kaguya, but she can't be seen, basically. Which they haven't really established why she can't be seen with Kaguya, but I don't know. I'm sure there's something, but it's an interesting thing that it's like, oh yeah, her maid, her personal assistant, basically, is also at the same school, basically. I don't know. But yeah, to the point where she has to change her hairstyle and, you know, put on color contacts, you know, stuff her dress a little bit and put on a British accent in order to disguise herself against Shirogane. So, yeah. And then we had the game. That was funny. Which, for a second, I thought that cheating was going to be, like... I thought it was specifically like, oh, well, you know, Fujiwara is cheating so that, you know, so that the president will get less points. And I thought she brought up the cheating penalty specifically so that Ishigami would take that because he wouldn't want to go, you know, check in on Kaguya. But no, like, even though he didn't want to do it, he played that completely straight. So it was Fujiwara who was cheating because she was desperate. So I like the moment at the end where she's like, I want to die, so I'm gonna go home. It's like, wait, that's Ishigami's line. Ugh. So such shame. That's an old reference now, isn't it? Jeez. God, you try to reference Game of Thrones and suddenly that's old now. Anyway. So my mind started going down a rabbit hole about the tragic downfall of Game of Thrones final season, but I don't want to do that. Anyway. And then, yeah, I think, so the last part was about Kaguya Shinomiya Part 1, which is interesting, so I'm curious, what is Part 2? Perhaps we'll get that. I assume you're not just going to label it Part 1 and not give a Part 2, but I like that, I like this whole, like, Freudian explanation of why Kaguya is like that when she's sick. It's like, oh, there's id and there's ego, but the ego is supposed to stop the id, but her ego is no longer there, so she is just id. In other words, blackout drunk. She's just drunk. That's just what happens when she gets a cold, you know? It's like those videos you see of, like, people, like like when they, I guess like when they get their wisdom teeth removed or something, and they're like on the medication, like I guess sort of the anesthetic-ish or the painkiller, and they're just loopy as shit, man. That is one thing of like, man, I never want to go through that, but I'll probably have to someday. Yeah, probably everyone has to someday, I'm sure, but yeah, but it's one thing of like, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to look like an idiot. I do that well enough here on YouTube, thank you. But yeah. So, and I also like, cause again, like with this whole situation, it's like, Shinomiya would never agree to any of this, but again, it's Hayasaka. She's seeking those thrills, man. Just seeking the thrill. It's like she's vicariously living through the two of them, like as a couple. It's like, which I don't know. It's like that just brings up 20 million questions about Hayasaka. But I just love that it's like, oh yes, no one will enter this room for 3 hours, and this door will be completely locked, and all the walls are 100% soundproof, and she won't remember any of this. Bye. It just closes the door. She is just I mean, I don't know, it's like, it's one of those things of like, you know, you could easily call Fujiwara, you know, a little chaos gremlin, but like, you know what, if she's like, I don't know, like, there's always, you know, the chart of like the chaotic neutral and stuff like that. I guess it would be like, chaotic neutral is probably Fujiwara, and then like lawful, I guess there's no lawful chaos, is there? Maybe there is, I don't know. Nobody references these memes anymore, but like whatever that would be, I would say is Hayasaka. So yeah, so she's just egging him on, like, go on, do it, be scum, do it, it'll be hot, you know. But he was a good boy. Even when he was dragged into her bed by her, he didn't do anything. He just fell asleep. So, of course, it caused a terrible situation when he woke up. But the good news is that hopefully Shinomiya won't hold that against him, because, you know, it's like, yeah, so what did he do? And Hayasaka's just like, that's a great question. She just looks like, apparently nothing. He's a good boy. Apparently he didn't do anything. So hopefully this doesn't like cause any sort of strain. I doubt it would, because I don't know how many things like carry over between episodes. I mean, there are some things, you know, but I don't know. I don't think that'll be something that, but maybe that's what part 2 of this story is her trying to, like, maybe she's, you know, she does want to get past it because, you know, she doesn't want to push him away, but at the same time, maybe it's just a little difficult. I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out next time. But very, very interesting stuff. Very, very fun typhoon antics. And another, I mean, with every passing scene, Hayasaka is basically like fighting for the position of best girl, I feel like. Which, for right now, I still reserve is Fujiwara. But Hayasaka, like every time, I don't know, there's just something about her that's just so interesting. So yeah. That is pretty much it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Kaguya-Sama reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.